Hi everyone, sorry about the inconvenience again. Apologize for the clash on the meeting coordinates today. This is our test automation brigade meeting, and just a reminder, quick reminder to everyone that these meetings are recorded and posted on YouTube. So with that, we'll just begin our call. I shared my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right, so going over the status items, the first item on our call, on the meeting agenda. I already have it here. Okay, there are some in progress items. Anybody has any concerns to bring up on these? Infosys, do you want to go over the updates, please?
Hi, Sujitra. So we are working on data plan scenarios now, 2052, 53, and 54. Yeah, 2052, Gayatri is working on it. 54, Suraj is working on it. And 2053, need to start it from tomorrow. I was busy with this Jenkins jobs.
Okay, any issues, Gayatri, in proceeding with the test?
No, Sujitra, she is just trying to do the manual verification now with the IPUF tool. She just installed and she's doing it. If any issues, will come to you.
Okay, thank you. And are there any pending patches from you guys? I merged.
Yeah, I think Suraj. Yeah, Suraj. He has sent one patch today. So 2595.
Yes.
So once you merge that, I think he has one more item as well. So he'll submit that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from your side?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you, Gayatri. And anybody from Atran on the call today? Gerald, Uwe, or Torsten? Anyone?
If they're not here, I can maybe give an update on what they're working on. I went to see them today to make sure that their system works and they are in pretty good shape. We actually made very good progress. They are in the process of having this worked into patches. There's actually one minor patch from Uwe that has been sitting on Gerrit for some time. I added you to it, Suchitra, if you can take a look at it. It's a very minor patch that adds that fixes a return of the CLI in the ONOS code. It's minor stuff, but that's something he was working on. And now they have their testing environment up and running. They were seeing some issues upon completion of the tests. They're able to run the sanity and functional tests, no problem. They've went over some of the issues that they were seeing with Andy, but they're now hitting a problem when deleting, at the end the tests actually delete stuff. So that's something that I think we will be raised as a bug. A few other people are seeing it here. And that's basically 3 flows stuck in a pending add, pending remove scenario. And that doesn't enable the state to be completely purged, so it doesn't enable tests to be rerun. That is the current state of where they are. I briefed them on a few more things, so I guess they are pretty much on track. I have no update other than this.
Okay.
Exactly. I did not find the unmute button.
Oh.
But we had today a meeting with Andrea, and what he currently said is correct.
Okay, thank you. Who is that who's speaking? I'm sorry.
This was Gerald.
Gerald. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gerald. Yes, I got the patch from Uwe and I gave him a minor comment and I think he resubmitted it. Hopefully we should be able to review and close it today. So we will close that. And in question to what Andrea was talking about, the issue that that you guys are seeing, is this on BBSIM?
Yes.
Okay, and it's consistently reproducible for you?
As far as we have seen this morning, yes.
No.
And I discussed it with Amit here, and some of the folks from Radisys are seeing it too. We believe that it is basically an occasion where the subscriber doesn't get unprovisioned before the deletion of the ONU and then the OLT, and that yields the flows to be stuck, and that consequently doesn't enable the OLT and the ONU to be fully deleted. They are in the deleted stage, but they don't go away because of the flows that are still trying to get done something with them. And that basically is unrecoverable. So you have to tear down the whole set of services to recover from it.
Oh, okay. And this is direct OLT deletion.
Yes. So one solution that we could try is we could try to unprovision the subscriber in the test before deleting the OLT and the ONU. That could maybe help solve this issue, but this was something that I discussed it like 30 minutes ago. So I
Okay.
can't really tell you more than that.
Okay. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, Gerald. Any other items from you, Andrea or Gerald?
I think we can share the progress on the DT from Hardik. If you go up, Suchitra.
Yeah, sure. From which one is it?
2483. 2483.
Number
It's
3.
number 3 on the list.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Suchitra. This is Hardik.
Hi, Hardik.
So I started working on the DT workflow, and I'm able to test the basic sanity manually. And today I started implementing it through the robot framework. So I'm planning to kind of introduce a new target for the sanity, more like sanity kind DT. And then what I'm trying to achieve is to bring up the standard kite Volta as we do it today. And on top of it, I'm planning to override the configurations that are required for the DT through the initial suite setup. So that much is kind of done also. And but the problem currently I'm facing is while executing the test cases, I'm seeing some issues in the ONU's flows, which were not there when I'm trying it manually. So I'm still kind of debugging, okay, if there is any issue in the test case that I have written. Maybe I'll reach out to Hema or Gayatri tomorrow to check with them and maybe share with them whatever I have implemented. And I'm targeting at least to create a patch for this maybe by end of the day tomorrow or early morning Monday maximum.
Okay, sounds good. So wherever we were talking about the DT, just a suggestion, if you could just create new keywords so that we could use a specific keywords for DT if there are something new. That way, the framework is built up for these kind of scenarios as well.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. I have for now kind of introduced a new target into the make file, and then a new parameter more like a global one, and while doing the suit setup, it will check if the workflow is DT, and then only it will override those. Otherwise, it will not, and it will go ahead with the generic flow. So once I'm done with some basic testing and basic stuff, I'll share that patch on the Jarrett, and maybe you guys can take a look and do that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, thank you very much. And I suppose you're working on pods, right? On hardware?
No, not yet.
This is BBSim. I still have issues with the physical pod here, as you know.
Okay.
So as of now, only we can check is the flows, if we are getting the required ones. So that is what I'm trying to verify there.
Okay, sure, Hardik. Thanks. So once you have the patch, then we can look at it and then provide some comments or suggestions.
Yes, yes. Okay.
A little more of an update on my side. I plan to assign some of the others DT ones to 546, to 545, to 549, some of those. I plan to assign them to David Hopcroft from Reply. He started setting up his environment as of the past days. He's going to be in the office here in Berlin next week, and I'm going to work with him and Hardik to make sure he starts on some of those other tests.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. Okay, so anything else from you, Andrea or Hardik, before I move on?
No.
That's all from us. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Is Debashish on the call? Okay, there are two patches that a patch that got submitted from Debashish for these two tickets, and these are for the BBSIM based functional test cases and some kind of scale test cases as well. I believe we are ready to merge probably today after we run the test from his patch, just verify those. Hangwei, do you have any update on this? Were you able to run these tests?
Yeah, I already helped them to merge the page. Yeah, he fixed the some change as I suggestion. So I merged the page just 10 minutes ago.
Okay, thanks, Sam. So I think these tests could be integrated into our system tests. The regular on the Jenkins, we do have the BBSIM based test cases, so we can add these as well. So Hung, can you please take an action on that?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Zach or Andy, any updates?
I've been primarily doing maintenance stuff and implementing the new CLA manager. So I still have these tasks outstanding, but I'll probably wrap around to them when I have more time.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Zach. Andy?
So I've mainly been working on log collection in the Jenkins jobs, and I think I saw that later on in the agenda for the meeting. So I can talk about that later or now, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, maybe we can finish that. Yeah, probably we can go to the test execution and then talk about things there.
Okay.
I was just looking at the tickets, but looks like we don't have this enhancement that we worked on. Probably, can you raise one ticket for this, Andy?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right. There's not a Jira ticket for that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and for myself, I've been working on integrating the images that Matteo has provided for ONOS 2.2, and then we already have the Jenkins jobs that is running on the FlexPod for ONOS 2.2 with all latest apps, and it's going pretty good. The test, at least, there are no issues after some of the fixes that Theo has provided. And I've been also debugging some of the test cases for issues. And that is all for my update. Okay, I'm moving on to the next item. All right, so pods. There are some Jenkins failure on Infosys pod. Any update from that? Because we looks like the Infosys pod, the IP addresses have changed, and we have merged some patches last night. And Hema also provided one more patch today for the config file change, so that is also merged. So I'm just curious, anybody from Infosys, like we have been changing these configurations all the time. Is there a specific reason that we are doing that?
No, Sujitra, this is Hema. Actually, yesterday we were doing migration activity. We were trying for the pod access, right? They didn't enable for Infosys people only. So yesterday we have got some update. So they were doing some migration activity. So for that, they have changed the IP addresses. So I think it's now stable. It's constant and it will not change going forward. Yeah, I have submitted the patch and it got merged. I just triggered a job and it got passed now. And now test job is also getting passed. So I think no issues now.
Oh, okay, sounds good. And you have 3.2 on your pod.
Yeah, I have updated
The
3.2. Yeah.
All right. And what about the access to the pod? Let's say, because yesterday when I was trying to build the pod, honestly, I cannot debug anything if I don't have access to it. So any updates from that side? Did your management say that we could provide some access to specific, like specific nodes on the pod at least?
No, Sujitra, not yet. Actually, our security group, they are not agreeing for that. Still, they are in discussion. So we just got access for our internal people. Gayatri and Suraj, they'll be getting next week only for access. So I'm only doing executions on behalf of them for now, since I'm sitting in lab.
Mm-hmm.
So next week they'll get access, I think. But for you, I'm not sure when they'll enable it. But for now, I don't think they'll do it. I'll update you if they get any status.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Hema.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrea, anything to add on the Berlin pod?
No, as I said before, not really. I have been debugging it with Girish, and it seems as if the packets. So we are able to get the HCP, we're able to get authentication passes, the HCP passes. We get an address, but the reply, the ARP request goes out, arrives to the upstream, but the upstream replies with an ARP reply. But that reply never gets to the RG, fake RG. So it seems as if the OLT is dropping the packets on the gem port, on close to the PON port, but we are not 100% sure. I did a session with Girish and he's going to take a look more about it, but this is all I have.
Okay.
And by the way, you have a ball 3.2 there. The Berlin pod is on ball 3.2.
Okay.
As is, I believe, the Tucson pod, where I got the ball 3.2 from.
Mm-hmm. Yes, now all looks like all pods are now upgraded with BAL 3.2 and we are testing, so that's good. Okay, thanks, Andrea. Anything else before we move on? So the next item we have is the test executions and updates. So the first one that we are talking about is the log capture. Last week we had implemented some logging behavior, and we had Andy had given us some overview on that, but now we have changed that, so Andy can speak about that.
So there has been an issue with capturing the container logs in Jenkins. And I guess the goal with capturing the container logs is to help with debugging, that we want to capture events at sufficient level of detail so that if a test fails, then Voltha developers can take a look and figure out what happened to cause the failure. So for that, we've been running the Voltha containers in debug mode, and this generates a lot of output, particularly from the RW core container. It generates like multiple megabytes of log data every minute. So with a long-running test, long-running test suite, we're generating hundreds of megabytes of data just from a single container. The issue has been that the logs that Kubernetes is maintaining for these containers get so huge that Kubernetes rolls the logs. So it'll roll the log after it reaches, I think on the QA pods, it'll roll the log at 48 megabytes. And it keeps, I don't know, 4 or 5 rolled logs. So it has a limited amount of storage inside Kubernetes. So the problem that we have been seeing in the log collection is that when Kubernetes rolls the log, then it disrupts our log collector process, that it doesn't follow onto the new log file, I guess, in Kubernetes. It's when the log rolls, it stops collecting new statements from the log. So we've been trying to work around this issue, because if we just stop getting messages from a particular container, then that's not useful for debugging. So the kind of workaround that we implemented yesterday is to use some scripts that are distributed with Voltha for collecting logs and combining them. And I'm hoping that this is going to give us better results. We're still kind of examining the logs to make sure there's not a problem with missing information like we were seeing earlier in the week. So if you look at the output of the test, there's a big zip file, container logs.tgz, and this has the logs of all of the containers in it. So you can just download that and unzip it, and then you'll see in there logs for individual containers, like, you know, OpenOLT adapter and RW core. If you try to use those logs and you notice that there is still a problem with missing entries in there, or you think there is, definitely let me know. I think that the log collection strategy used by these Voltha scripts is working pretty well, but I think it's also not foolproof, that there is still a chance that we can miss some logging data. So yeah, I would like to determine if that's the case or not. So anyhow, if you have any questions, you can ask now, or if later, you can ask me on Slack. But yeah, we're definitely trying to work through this issue of missing logs. Anything else, Suchitra, that you'd like me to point out?
Yeah, the other pointer is that we have not removed the per test failed logging capability. So whenever we are writing new tests, we should still have the same template of start and stop collecting logs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so when a test fails, you'll see a log collected for just that test.
Yes, so here we don't have any failed test cases, so we don't see them. But if there were any failures, then we would still collect logs per test case that has failed, which is again a combined log of all containers. So just that, and I think that is all we have on this. Any questions from anyone? Okay, so another update is that ONOS 2.2 with latest apps. Just wanted to update you as well. As we talked earlier, FlexPod has been upgraded to run with ONOS 2.2 and with the latest apps. And it's going pretty good, not many failures. Most of the times we have good success rate on those tests. And by the way, DemoPod is still running with 1.13.10. Okay. Any new test cases? So I think last week we talked about adding new test cases to the existing test suites on which are running on the Jenkins jobs, but we have not done that due to the other testing activities that we have been performing this week. Mostly with the 2.2 release and also some of the issues, intermittent issues that we have been seeing with the delete OLT and also the sanity test itself, initial MIB downloaded state that we have been seeing last week as well. We were trying to figure out the actual root cause and debug those, so there was no opportunity to add new test cases this week. So I think the plan is that once we release ONOS 2.2 and we have stable results with these 11 test cases, then we are going to add all other new tests. So in the meanwhile, if there are any new tests, please do send patches and we will still merge them as not ready state. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Yes, there is a failure on system test patches, especially when there are failures on the unit tests. I think some of us are confused how to debug on those unit test failures. If Zach is on the call and he can update us on those or give us some pointers on how to really fix those issues. It could be like lint errors or something else. Line is too long. Most of the times we are getting this kind of issues. Zach, can you give us pointers, please?
Yeah, so this is on the changes to the robot framework test.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I looked at this and I'm the one who implemented the linting functionality. For the line is too long, if the most frequent reason that is somebody has a very long shell script, and actually David Bainbridge figured out a way to use the concatenate operator to build those. I can find a link to that if people have problems with that. Some of the other ones are number of steps in a test and that sort of thing. Those it's possible to override in the make file. Really, the goal of this is, and of the whole lint system, is to make it easier for people to change and read these robot tests. A lot of the cleanup that I did on them was with that goal in mind. If you have a specific failure of the lint system, feel free to run that or ask me about that. I don't want this to get in the way of people checking in new tests, but on the flip side, it's not good to have it from a code cleanliness standpoint. It's good to have things past the lint process, and that can be run locally. You can there's some makefile targets that I think will run the lint process, and you can check output before you've checked your code in. I can find a link to the concatenate that was used for the long shell scripts. Additionally, a lot of those long shell scripts are doing frequently are shelling out to sort out like JSON objects and other stuff that can be done within robot, especially if you're, for example, processing Volt control output or something like that. I'll add some links to the into this meeting agenda that I found for that.
Okay, thanks, Zach. And is there a way to figure out the common errors and the reasons so that we can go ahead and fix it? So it's easier for us to go and then, because I know that people from Atron also face this issue. So we weren't sure how to go about it. Can you, if you know some of the particular failures and the reason and how to fix it, if you could just quickly give those as a pointers, that would be great.
Right. I don't have examples here, but I could definitely do it next week, or I can send around an email that goes through what I had to do to change some of these things and sort of how to stylistically update that. I would highly recommend that people run the tests locally, the lint checks locally. Mm-hmm. And as they're doing their development, most of them are going to be fairly simple and obvious, and I can point to the documentation for that as well.
Okay, thanks, Zach. Yeah, so yeah, definitely not this meeting, but somewhere when you have time, if you can add it to our documentation, that will be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions for Zach? Okay, I'm not going through the action items from the previous meeting this week. We can take some more time and then probably we can recheck those items the following meeting. Any other topics before we close out today? Any other discussions that you want to bring up? Okay, looks like no. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for your participation and time. We'll talk again next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.